looking at literary analysis, more specifically, symbolism. What does this mean? It means to be cautious. Everybody knows that this represents potential danger, and it tells you to be cautious moving forwards. This is a sign. We encounter signs every day. For example, wedding rings represent marriage, roses represent love, or wearing black might represent mourning, as in going to a funeral. These are just some examples of the many signs or symbols that we encounter in our everyday life. When authors do this, this is called symbolism. Symbolism is using things to stand in for something other than what they actually are. These things could be objects, living or non living. They could be actions, events, colours, places, words, or even characters themselves. In literature, pretty much anything could be a symbol, which causes problems because if anything can be a symbol, how is it that I should go about thinking about symbols or analysing them? We can do this by following 5 simple steps. First, we identify a symbol. What is a thing that we think stands in for something larger than itself? Then, we recognise the characteristics. What qualities does this have? Then, we consider the context. Where does this symbol appear in a text? In what situations do we find it? Then, we question its significance. Well, what would this symbol be trying to do? And then we interpret meaning. What's the symbol standing in for entirely? Let's look at an example from Ian Martel's The Life of Pi. Just for some context, The Life of Pi is a story about a young boy who becomes lost at sea on a lifeboat with a fully grown Bengal tiger. Before the boat that Pi and his family are using to transport their family zoo from India to Canada sinks in the ocean, leaving our main character in its troublesome predicament, Pi is trying to live a life as a Muslim, Christian, and Hindu. As a result, religion is an important theme in the text alongside the theme of survival. One of the places where we see a symbol in Life of Pi is in the chapter just before we hear about Pi's great journey. In the book, the writer includes himself interviewing Pi later on in the future after he has survived being at sea. As a result, we know that Pi is going to survive. Before Pi tells us about his time at sea, we are in Pi's house as an adult and we get this passage. I turn. Leaning against the sofa in the living room, looking up at me bashfully, is a little brown girl, pretty and pink, very much at home. She's holding an orange cat in her arms. 2 front legs sticking straight up and a deeply sunk head are all that is visible of it above her crossed arms. The rest of the cat is hanging all the way down to the floor. The animal seems quite relaxed about being stretched on the rack in this manner. Later on, this chapter ends with, the story has a happy ending. Here, the cat that the child is holding is orange. There's many other times in the novel where we see this colour. Notably, the tiger itself is orange on an orange lifeboat. There's also an orangutan called Orange Juice. Pi is wearing an orange life jacket just before he escapes the sinking ship. He's also given a orange whistle, which he uses to help survive and train the tiger. And he distances himself from a lifeboat by creating a raft, which is also orange. As you can see, orange features heavily in the text. Maybe it might be a symbol. Let's apply our thinking of the 5 steps in order to see what this symbol might mean. Step 1. Identify symbol. We've identified the colour orange. Step 2. Recognise characteristics. What is it about orange that we can immediately recognise? Well, visually it's bright and it's associated with fire, which can be a source of light and warmth. It's also considered sacred in Hinduism. Next, let's consider the context. Where do we see orange in the text? The colour is used at various points in the novel to describe objects that assist and reaffirm Pi's survival at sea. So, Richard Parker, the tiger, is credited for Pi's survival because he helps Pi at the beginning when there's problems, and he also gives emotional support for Pi. The orangutan is also a source of emotional support for Pi. The life jacket itself is is a is an object that you use in order to survive. The whistle is used to survive. The raft is used to survive. And when we see the cat in the text that is described as being orange, this inspires the reader to remind us that there's a happy ending to the story. So all of this connects orange to survival. Then we question the significance. The use of orange is significant because it unifies a lot of things in the text that represent survival, and it also has connotations of Hinduism, which represents the novel's theme of religion. So here we're saying that the orange is significant because it unifies objects which connect to survival, and it also represents religion, which are two of the themes. So now that we have the symbol, we understand the characteristics, we know the context, and we have questioned the significance, we can interpret the meaning. Step 5. The colour orange stands for hope. It develops a theme of survival and religion, and it suggests that the value of religion is hope. As you can see here, we've gone through different steps to come at a concrete meaning of what orange is representing in a text. We have clear thinking and analysis to support this. So, remember, symbolism is a use of objects, living or non-living, actions, events, colours, places, words, and even characters to stand in for something greater than they actually are. When we're looking at analysing symbolism texts, we can ask ourselves 5 questions. We can take 5 steps in order to arrive at meaning. First, we can identify a symbol, then we can recognize characteristics, then we can consider context. After that, we can question significance, and finally, we can interpret meaning.